I'm playing Talia Al Ghul.
Give a little bit more. Tell us about it.
She's a good girl who has naughty habits.
Now, speaking of those naughty habits, for those of us that read the book, she kind of runs hot and cold. She's got good days, she's got bad days.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about what she's like in Arkham City?
Yeah, well, Batman was a lover of hers, and we're not sure if their tryst is finished just yet. She has kind of questionable loyalties. You never know if she's on the good side or the bad side throughout the story. And that makes it really fun to play and keeps the mystery going.
Now, we've heard Talia in a couple different mediums. What can you tell us about your interpretation of her?
Oh, dang, look at that.
Oh, there you go.
She's kind of an ambiguous international character, and so we created a bit of an accent for her. We wanted to make it, I think, a mix of like a Persian, Greek kind of accent, something that was more ancient feeling.
You could play her live action, don't you think? She's so striking. That's rare when you have an actress voiceover.
Can I touch you just because it's like kind of freaking me out that we're here.
Yes, I'm old.
But also awesome. Alright, so realistically speaking, if you told us anything else about your character in the game, there are these people that are off stage that would come grab you. Any final thoughts before we dive in?
She's just kick-ass, man. I love this chick. I think she rocks. I hope you guys have a really good time with her in your story.
Now moving on, Miss Sterling, you are on the hook right now. So you're on the hook right now for some answers.
All right,
so tell us, what's DC Entertainment doing to really sync up with this game?
Yeah, obviously the first game was a huge breakout success. This time we wanted to really come out with guns blazing and support this game. So we actually have a print comic book that's coming out. We're up to the 4th issue of 5 issues. And we have digital comics, sort of interstitials in between those print chapters that are coming out for mobile devices and whatnot. Basically, the storyline was written by Paul here, and it really connects the first game to the Arkham City, and it really features a lot of backstory and interstitial material.
Alright, well Paul, he's just set you up, so now you're on the hook for some answers.
Well, in coming up with the story for Arkham City, for the comic book series, we realized we had a golden opportunity to sort of expand the mythology between the two games, because we were going from Arkham Asylum on a terrible night to the creation of basically half the city is now a prison. Well, there's an interesting story there. How did that happen? So we put our heads together and we came up with a storyline. I bounced a lot of ideas off of Paul and the team in London at Rocksteady to figure out, okay, where is Arkham City? Where do we begin? What can we fill in? What's the time lapse? What characters can we feature? And I think what we've got is a really nice bridge of the mythology between the two games.
Yeah, for us.
Now, the other Paul, Mr. Crocker, you worked pretty closely.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and fill us in how involved you were, because I think people might be surprised to know that you've actually got quite a hand in this.
Yeah, I mean, Paul came over at the beginning of the project. I think we had a week of brainstorming. We did the same on the first project.
Right.
And then pretty much every week, people are talking, ideas are backwards and forwards. And everyone at Rocksteady is just so excited to be working on Batman that the ideas just keep flowing, and it's great to have Paul as well to help us.
Yeah, it's not like I go off somewhere and write a script and it just gets animated. There's a lot of exchange of ideas, and we'll come up with a general storyline for the game, and then there are infinite variations on it. Like we'll be very excited about developing a certain character, and then realize that character kind of goes nowhere or repeats something another character is doing, so we drop them and we start again. It's a great way of working. It's very collaborative, and I think the result really shows in the game.
Now, Kevin and Mark, you guys are like a team now. So we got the band back together for this game.
who we are.
That's who we are.
No, but I'm thinking, because really, there's no other villain. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, of course. You'll know more than I do. But it seems to me that there's no other villain in the Batman mythology that it has had a more hands-on origin with Batman. I mean, Batman didn't throw acid into Harvey Dent's face. You know, he didn't make Edward Nygma obsessed with riddles, but he did throw Jack Napier, or whoever he was under the Red Hood, into that solution. And one of the episodes that really illuminated a relationship for me was the one Paul Dini wrote called The Man Who Killed Batman, where Joker believes that some two-bit thug had taken Batman out. He became completely lethargic, listless, lost the will to live. It really made sense to me because they're so yin-yang in a way, it's a terrible irritant because there's almost a Stockholm syndrome element involved when you become enamored of the person that enslaves you. It's very complex.
You need me and I need you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's never boring. People say, don't you find it, repetitive in a way? To me, it's just got endless possibilities because he's insane, he's completely unpredictable, and he's never boring, at least to me. I just had so much fun that when I had the opportunity to tell you the truth, when the animated series came to an end, I thought, after all those years of doing the one that was under the auspices of standards and practices, because I get letters saying, why don't you kill more people? And you have to remind them, it's a cartoon for children. We can't kidnap, you can't, there's all the no-nos. I thought one thing I would love to do, one swan song that I thought would make sense would be to do the gnarliest R-rated Joker I could, so I wanted to do a book on tape of The Killing Joke. That's his Hamlet, really. Yeah. And before I had the chance to really sort of float that idea, I know, Alan Moore's famously standoffish when it comes to adaptations of his work, but I thought, if there's a book on tape and we do it word for word, how can you complain? But then along came Arkham Asylum, and it gave me a chance to do one that is much more aimed at adult audiences.
Well, I think our characters developed together over time. And as actors, we worked really well off of each other. We both have a strong theater background. We play off each other really well. And that fed into it.
It works it's like working with a musician. You can anticipate their rhythms, and it really becomes a comfortable workspace. I mean, I didn't realize how much I missed everyone until it all went away.
Yeah.
And you thought, see, I just took that for granted, that every job in animation is going to be that well written, that well cast, that well produced, Shirley Knight's music, all of it. It just was so wonderful. And then, of course, you realize that not everything can be up at that level.
And it was the first show that I had done. It was the first animated character I've been a part of. It was the first animated character I auditioned for. You believe that?
Yeah, we were really blessed that, the show clicked as well as it did. It was just the right people at the right time who all shared that passion for the character
on every level. The writers, the artists,
the designers,
actors, the director, Andrea Romano. It was just a really unique moment in time. All those people coming together.
Wake up in the morning, right? When you wake up and say, what am I doing today? Oh boy, it's a Batman! Oh, that was it was a wonderful feeling.
Do you remember the day that the fires in LA happened after the riots?
Yeah.
And they didn't cancel the recording session.
Oh, I think you're talking about the Northridge earthquake.
No, the city was on fire.
Yeah.
And I called my agent and I said, we can't have a recording session today. She said, yep, they haven't canceled, they want you there. And the recording studio wasn't on the Warner Brothers lot, it was in Hollywood, near the riot zone. So I'm driving my Volvo, and the smoke is coming towards the car, and every other car on the road is going the other way. And I thought, why am I driving in the wrong way?
Because you're Batman.
I am
ride down the wrong way on one-way streets.
I remember that day because we were doing the recording, and I lived about a half mile away from Arlene Sorkin, and we would sometimes go to the sessions together. And as we were coming back, I was going to drop her. She had a business meeting later that day, and as we were coming back through Hollywood, we just saw this guy passing in front of us, pushing one shopping cart full of sneakers and pulling another one, and people were running back and forth with property out of different windows. And she just looked at me and said, "Drive faster."
Yeah, people were comparison looting in those days.
It was a wild day.
From this window and going down.
And every time the door to the studio would open, smoke would waft in. Finally, Andrea said, "Everybody's got to go home. You got to go home." But it was that kind of loyalty. Everyone, there was
I
no
drove
question.
to a session after the Northridge earthquake, and I called Warner Brothers in the morning saying the same thing. They can't be a session today because all of North Hollywood is in pieces.
That was in '94, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They said, no, as far as we know, you're still doing it. When we were doing it at that studio that was like in Silver Lake or something. Yeah. Are you positive? Because, I mean, if I'm going to get there at 2, I better leave now. It was like 10:30. I left at 11, got there at 3:15, and when I got there, it was already an hour and 15 minutes, it took hours. And when I got to the studio, they go, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I called. There's a session." I'm like, "Oh, they canceled that hours ago, so thanks a lot." I'm still mad about it. 11 years later, I still hold the grudge.
Get over it. Well, I remember when they had the horrible fire out at Big Rock. It was right around Thanksgiving, and I had called you to make sure that you were okay, and you had evacuated. And the next day, I'm watching the news, and I see you standing in the ruins of a house, and I'm going like, "Oh, Mark, it's collected. Everything, you lost everything." And it's like, my poor neighbor here lost everything. Your house was okay, and it skipped over you, but I guess
We were in the hotel. We figured, well, wait a second. If we get a ride with the news van, we can get past police lines. So that was the trade. They said, okay, you can get a ride in, but my editor said, if your house is burned to the ground, we want footage of you mourning your house.
So you were warning the neighbors.
So no, I went and did it, and luckily we were spared. But it was a terrible feeling because you went back to the hotel, and a lot of my neighbors were saying, "Did our house make it?" And if I knew it had, I would say, "Yeah, it made it." And if I knew that it hadn't, I would say, "I don't remember." I mean, I'm not sure. I never told anybody, "Yeah, it was burned to the ground."
All right, so the chemistry we're seeing up here clearly lends itself.
Yeah, remember that fire when I called you at your house? Yeah. These are good stories for you guys.
So what you're saying is there's awesome outtakes in this game, right?
Yes.
There better be. Pause, you just destroy them all.
We try and keep them, but we're going to
You
use
do, all right.
Yeah.
Now, how did you guys keep things fresh? Because you guys have been doing this for a good long while. You know these characters like the back of your hands.
We're such good actors.
No, I like it when it's more manageable. If it's a 22.5-minute television episode, or even a 90-minute feature, you know it follows the traditional 3-act structure.
Yeah.
With video games, you have no idea how these people are going to branch off and play this game. It just makes you endlessly schizophrenic, which is probably harder or easier for my character than it is for.
It's much harder for me.
Yes. So how can Batman have a neutral response, a hugely negative response, or a hugely positive response to the same event? It's got to be terribly hard.
And we'd like 3 takes of each line. Yeah. For hour after hour after hour. It's really a hard process. Much harder process.
You can't keep track of everything. And also, too, one thing that we can't ever know for sure is how the game is going to play.
Yeah.
You know, how the controls are going to work and whether you think it's a challenge or what. I remember I got a call from Nathan. My son goes, "Dad, go to joystick.com. You guys got like a 9.4 or something." I'm like, "Is that good, son?" "Good. It's great. Get over there right now." So, yeah, you know, I was walking just down the hall 2 years ago for Arkham Asylum, and a guy with a British accent, this really happened, came up to me and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Hamill. I want you to know that Arkham Asylum is won a Guinness World Book of Records for the best reviewed comic book game ever." And he gave me this big plaque, and I posed for it, and then he took the plaque away and disappeared, and I never saw him again. So I want to know, is that really true, or was that a major prank?
No,
it's wind up on an Ashton Kutcher show or something.
No, it's true. I mean, we did get in the Guinness Book of World Records. I was over at the studio when they came in and they did the photography with everybody. I thought you had to sit on a flagpole for about 3 weeks to get one of those things.
Oh, really? Well, I made me suspicious that he didn't let me keep the award. So I would have given it to, whoever blocked it, but I only had it for about 40 seconds.
All right, now so for the sequel, obviously you're coming off a big high. You're clearly raising the stakes a little bit. You want to talk to us what you can about what's going into the game, how you guys have collaborated. More importantly, why's Talia in the game? Why'd you pick her?
Why would you not pick her?
Are you crazy? To talk about. Only these guys to our right know who we're authorized to talk about.
We're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, we can't tell who's in it.
Well, we put Talia in the game because she's such an awesome character. We can't really say why she's in the game because that would spoil a massive part of it. But I mean, when we moved into making Arkham City, we really just tried to look at everything that worked in the first game and just really ramp it up and make a much better experience for the player and really focus everything around that. So better gameplay, more gameplay, get more Batman characters in, and just really make them as good as possible.
Now, when picking the characters to put in the game, you have quite a few to choose from, but the Arkham universe is very specific. So, out of the Rogues Gallery, how did you decide who you were going to grab? And if you want to tell us something that we don't know about, feel free.
Yeah, we don't want to tell you anything you don't know about. I mean, we started off, we have the core narrative that runs through the game, so we knew pretty much in the first week when you were over, it was going to be Hugo Strange and Batman and Arkham City, etc. But as the game's progressed and Arkham City's got bigger and bigger, we found loads more opportunities to put more characters in. Because obviously the great thing about Arkham City is, it is a prison, so we can put any of the bad guys in there. And then it's interesting to see what they do once they get into Arkham City. So, Riddler chose to build a bunch of death traps and find a way to trap Batman, whereas Cameraman's actually in there purely to give the player a kind of interesting date-based challenge in order to hear his history, different things he's done over a year, which we collaborated on, quite a lot.
That was a lot of fun. Was coming up with his dialogue and the information he would exchange with Batman. And I'd say that was pretty much some of the more straightforward writing of the game is some of the stuff that doesn't involve the main gameplay, where we actually get into the characters' heads. Calendar Man was a lot of fun to write.
Yeah, and it works really well in the game. Then the meals over the tapes are back, so you get to get in the heads of all the different villains, but from the point of view of Hugo Strange. So, like I say, we just try and cram as much story elements and characters in as we can.
And there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work. Like we had gone off on a tangent early on about an element of the story that we can talk about probably next year that just kind of fell by the wayside. But it would still make a great idea for a story or graphic novel or something.
Alright, so I actually have a question for Mark. Yes. Hello. Now, of the new characters that are coming to the stage, we're seeing a lot more villains. So Joker's got a little bit more competition. So, in your mind, when you were doing the performance, did you feel like you had to step it up?
Competition for the Joker.
You always try and fulfill whatever is on the page, accomplish what the writers and directors wanted. Okay.
Put it down and keep it. Yeah.
So these are props.
It's battle damage Robin.
Very nice.
Okay, well...
Is that Killer Croc there? So in any case, in this version, I was trying to fit the Joker to what it was that was required in this particular scenario. And you guys saw the trailer, they showed the Spike Awards. That's the foundation that I'm working on. And I didn't know, nobody tells me these things. Did you know there were action figures for Arkham Asylum? Woo! I did. Yeah. What? Two series of 5, right? Now remember, I'm going to be picking the raffle number. So, let's work on it. I got to get those figures, you guys. Do you think I can get them here at the con? Are they on sale down on the floor? I'll go look for them.
Well, we're actually doing a new set of toys to support Arkham City. In fact, that's what these are here. So the first wave is actually Harley Quinn. Battle damaged Robin.
You lost a whole leg.
Yes. And then obviously Killer Croc here, which is probably as hefty as Bane is there. So.
Now, those were based on your drawings, Jim?
These were actually based on a guy in my studio, Wildstorm, Carlos Leander. These, and he did all the designs from the first game and about.
He's drawing the book too. He's fantastic.
Well, you should tell me what you were telling me, because I had no idea that you were doing. For instance, Paul wrote a book that bridges Asylum to City, and you said there's comic books that are in the process of being released. They'll be collected in a trade paperback. Tell them, because I forgot.
Sure,
my short-term memory.
Yeah.
He told me while we were waiting to come on, I'd forgotten already.
No, normally, we print the comics after the games come out and kind of put it together and support the game afterwards. On this one, we really wanted to coordinate our efforts and put out the comic book as the game ships. So when the game comes out October 18th, you can actually go to the store and get a hardcover that collects all the stories preceding that release date. And it features basically the interlude between Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, written by Paul, drawn by Carlos Leander, who did all the designs for these toys and characters. And it's really a first. It's never been done before in the world of print.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of time that takes place between Arkham Asylum and Arkham City because a whole different city has been, constructed. So it was fun to play with that kind of time lapse in between of the about a year or so between the Arkham riots and the rise of Arkham City. And the story, some of the stories are really big in the comics. Some of them are small. In the digital ones that we're doing online, those are little slice of life stories involving some of the villains and some of the allied characters that will be showing up in the game. Thank you. I also have to thank Derek Friedholz, who is scripting some of the digital chapters. He's doing an awesome job on those.
And I guess I should ask, so these are Arkham City action figures, right?
Correct.
So that means Killer Croc is in Arkham City?
Maybe.
I don't know. I go to Jack in the Box a lot with my wife, and every time we go, she stares at the menu for like 15 minutes, and I go like, you know exactly what's on the menu, right? Why do you have to spend so much time thinking about it? This is Batman. We all know the characters that are going to be in this game. I have one anecdote about a character, and they shut me down, so I can't share it. But honestly, sorry. But it rhymes with no, and like someone's heart is about to explode. But yeah, I mean, it's the world of Batman, so you know who all the heavy hitters are, and obviously these guys are great about sort of readapting these characters for this game, and it's a completely different look for the mythology, so it's very exciting.
And it's safe to say this is wave one, maybe? So implying more waves?
That would imply, yes, you're right. So it's just, this is, I don't know how you would phrase that. Screwed up.
You want to side a Killer Croc with that?
Alright.
She orders a number 6.
Alright.
Each and every time.
Now, as far as what you guys are doing with the game, there's some neat stuff that you guys are putting in the collector's edition. Jim, you want to run us through some of that stuff?
It depends, I think, depending on which retail shop you go to, so I don't know if that's been finalized yet.
Well, the one that's in the DC booth.
The one that's in the DC booth?
Yeah. You got sketches and stuff? Okay.
I don't know if I can talk about that, honestly.
Alright, we can't go to the DC booth. There's stuff.
Yes. I know some stuff is exclusive depending on where you buy it, but
that's all
I'm not 100% sure.
Now, how much of Arkham City has kind of come out of what everybody in this room that's very vocal on the internet has suggested or asked for? And then this is more of a question for Paul. You do listen to them, right? Or the calls. Come on.
Well, we really read everything, the forums.
But now we've got a very large area, much bigger than an island. How did you know, where did you stop yourselves from basically killing yourselves from deciding to do a ton of stuff?
I think we're still killing ourselves making this game. The game is huge, but we really, our principle in making it has always been, you know, to really make the player feel like they are Batman. And so every design decision we make is purely based around that. So one of the great things about playing Batman in the city was we were able to develop the gliding system so you can move around the entire game without touching the ground, where you can drop down, take out thugs, then straight away grapple straight, you know, back onto rooftops and really feel like you're Batman doing it. And I think that was the kind of eureka moment for us when the whole city came together as to, you know, why this could be really cool.
Alright, so I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We've got one nice little surprise for you guys. Even though I couldn't get them to actually give up anything that they can't talk about, there is a trailer we want to show you that if you look sharp, you might see something. And then after the trailer, there was a Batman somewhere up here that I can't see, but we're going to give him away. But first things first, I think we're going to look at that trailer. Everybody look sharp, you might notice something. Okay, so I think you guys got that. Alright, so next up we've got, I'm trying to get this straight here. So we have this Legacy Edition Batman that is not like, it is Mr. Classic Blue. And so what I'm told is that there was, I'm going to read this, several people were randomly selected upon entering the hall, and you guys were given a card. Now, those cards are in the box that Mark has, and he is going for in front of our friends here, and you're just going to pull one. When your number is called, you want to come running up here to the person who's not standing up, just come here. Whoever's got the card, come here. You get to see it, and they're going to ship it to you so you don't get mugged on the way out home. Alright, so, if you will, sir.
Number 976. 976. Justice League. I can't remember. But I do remember the paradox, because it was called The Death of Solomon Grundy. And I thought, how do you kill a zombie? I mean, what's dead to a zombie? Come on, that's a Tuesday. I don't know who you got for this one, but again, it's the most gnarly version of Solomon Grundy I've ever seen. And who voiced, is that the Penguin that we saw?
Yep.
Yeah. Again, nasty. Who's the actor who plays, who's doing the voice of Penguin?
What's that the thing?
He can't remember.
You know, everybody forgets these things, but that's alright. I'm sure there's ways to find out if you're curious.
Sorry to put you on the spot that way. Well, I couldn't even remember what cartoon I did Solomon Grundy in. I just remember.
Alright, well, we thank you for coming. If you want to check out the game, it is on the show floor. And there are some demos and whatnot. Thank you very much for coming.